Short films have a running time of 40 minutes or less. Film festivals usually display short films so that upcoming filmmakers earn some recognition, allowing their work to be recognised and reviewed by film lovers and critics. An example of this is Whiplash. Going off topic from a short film, there are feature-length films, productions, entertainment, drama and political filmmaking. Feature-length films are usually 50 minutes or longer due to the fact they have a bigger budget and a bigger crew. Furthermore, these productions are made to entertain the audience as well as including some of their own views and morals in the story. An example of this is Avengers Infinity War. The next thing is a TV drama or issue-based narrative filmmaking. TV dramas usually are an hour long due to the fact they have more information for the viewer than a serial drama. However, TV dramas usually have more meaning and are usually based on an issue. An example of this is Breaking Bad, when Walter White and his accomplice starts making meth. The opposite of a TV drama is a serial drama or an ongoing narrative development or recurring themes. Serial dramas such as Hollyoaks, EastEnders or A Casualty are constantly recurring and have an ongoing narrative development. Unlike the TV drama, serial dramas are not limited seasons and are usually renewed and with an ongoing storyline. The next thing I'll be talking about is narrative structures. First of all, there are cause and effect or the motivation of the protagonist or the order of storytelling. This is for the main character has a goal to achieve and achieve something at the end of the film, for example money, his lover, etc. An example of this is Italian Job when they're hanging off a cliff for the gold. The next thing is a narrative model on theory. This links with Todorow's theory, where at the start everything will be peaceful and fine and everyone will be getting along well, and throughout the film more and more bad things will start happening. An example of this is the Simpsons movie. This is because at the start of the film they're all happy, but when the film goes on, more and more bad things happen. Next we have characterizations, stereotypes and stock characters. This means certain characters fit into certain roles and features. For example, women scream and run, whereas men usually fight the bad guy in most films. For example, in Scream there are usually majority of the girls scream and the men usually kill them. Furthermore, the stereotypes such as Team America portray other religions and ethnicities as they want. An open or closed ending is where we know what happens at the end of the film to where we don't know what will happen to the character at the end. Strand and multi-strand ending is when we follow the storyline of multiple characters compared to single strand is when we follow only one person. An example of this is Seven Psychopaths. Realist and anti-realist films are which we can be associated with reality or not. Anti-realistic is when it is not realistic at all and it can also be fake. An example of this is Avengers Infinity War. Next we have visual storytelling. This is like mise-en-scène. Mise-en-scène is the arrangement of things which allow you to know and understand about the scene or the person. For example, if we are watching a film and a cowboy enters the scene, we will know that he is from the Wild Wild West. An example of this is the good and the bad and the ugly. Next we have the camera. The camera angle and framing has a huge impact on the film as we can gather amounts of information during the film. For example, if there is a low tilt, we know that the character is powerful and strong, but if it is a high tilt, we know that the character is vulnerable and weak. An example of this is the Avengers when the villain's accomplices start invading the Earth. Next we have lighting. Lighting is also important for films as it sets up the scene and allows the audience to know what might happen or what is going to happen. For example, in a horror film, it might be dark and gloomy because the evil spirit is nearby or a person is about to die. An example of this is The Conjuring 2, where the demon is finally revealed. Next we have sound. There are two different sounds we have, diegetic and non-diegetic sound. The difference between these is that diegetic and non-diegetic sound is that diegetic is the sound being emitted and can be heard by the viewer and the character. Examples of these are footsteps or breathing. Non-diegetic sound is the sound is being played for drama purposes and can only be heard by the viewer. These are things like theme tunes. An example of diegetic and non-diegetic sounds are Reservoir Dogs and 28 Weeks Later. The use of music films or shows means that we can hear which makes the film better or more intense. Examples of these are things like film tune or in-screen music. Furthermore, the use of music could be the characters start singing or listening to music during the film. An example of this is Halloween or Wayne's. Finally, we have film genres, genre and audience. A genre is the themes and conventions of a film in which the audience can clearly identify which genre it is. For example, we can clearly tell a horror film is a horror film because it makes us jump and scared, and with science fiction films, it is spaceships and superheroes. Two films that I gathered are Insidious and Black Panther. The next thing is generic characterizations. Generic characterizations is the characters in the films are portrayed as. For example, in a horror film, the guy is usually the person who tends to kill the villain, and the pretty kill tends to die first. In a sci-fi film, the good guys tend to always come out on top. For example, Scream and Superman. The next thing is audience expectations. Audience expectations mean what the audience or the viewer want from the film or the movie. For example, in a horror film they want a lot of deaths and gore, and with sci-fi they want something out of space or with spaceships. A very good example that I found was Interstellar, when the guy is falling through the black hole in space. The next thing I thought about talking about is generic subversions. Generic subversion means what happens at the end of the film is usually switched around. For example, in the superhero film, they usually expect the superheroes to beat the villain. The subversion for this is the villain beats the superheroes. One of the films that I found was blockbuster hit Avengers Infinity War, where Thanos, the villain, ends up clicking the Infinity Gauntlet and killing the majority of our superheroes.